Hey guys, it's Gabs and welcome back to my channel. So, as you can probably tell from the title of this video, this is a SCAD Q&A slash what I wish I knew before coming to SCAD, or what I wish someone would have told me before coming to SCAD. I have been posting on my Instagram, asking people to ask me questions, and my TikTok and all that. I have a few that I've collected over time, and I thought that I would answer them. I also saw Luca Whitaker, who is a SCAD at Atlanta. That was my roommate. Ashton, if you're watching this, that's so embarrassing. Okay, so I saw Luca Whitaker did a video very similarly to this, but she is a SCAD Atlanta student. So I thought it would be fun to do one for the SCAD Savannah campus. So let's start with the basics. First question, why did I choose SCAD? As I answer these questions, I'm going to be moving around and I'm going to be outside. I'm going to bring you to some of my favorite places around Savannah to answer the questions. But like I said, for the first question, why did I choose SCAD? And honestly, I have an answer, but my initial reaction is I have no idea why my heart brought me here. I just knew when I was looking at the colleges that this was where I belonged. Like, I visited several colleges in New York City and Philadelphia, and none of them called to me the way SCAD did. My mom has a story that when I was touring here at SCAD Day last February, I walked in and she said there was a light in my eyes, and she called my dad. As I was walking around, she called my dad and she was like, "We lost her. That's it. This is the school." And it's 12 hours away from where I live, so for them this was like really scary. For me it was scary as well, but extremely exciting. So I guess that would be my initial response, but my more in-depth response is I chose SCAD for their values, and I did a ton of research on all the schools that I applied to. And SCAD's goal is to make their students feel as comfortable as possible and as at home as possible by creating an environment that is suited best for them.
Here is a post that I put on my Instagram, and what I said is that Paula Wallace has created an environment where students can be truly themselves. The school offers incredible opportunities for their students and sets us up for our futures by formatting the classes in a way so that we know what to expect in our fields after graduating.
Okay, so for the second and third question, I'm going to be answering them here because look at how adorable this little sage greenhouse is. And I was just taking my Earth Day photos. There's people walking by looking at me and it's so embarrassing, but you know what? I don't even care. So there's about to be a couple walk right past me. Let's just pretend that's not happening. Another question is, what is SCAD? And SCAD is the Savannah College of Art and Design. So it's an art and design college, and there's so many different creative majors. It's basically called like a creative university, and they have a few different locations. So they have the Savannah location, which is where I am. They have an Atlanta location. They used to have a Hong Kong location, but that shut down. And they have the Lacoste Study Abroad program. Which has my heart. I hope I have the chance of going there during my time here at SCAD. Okay, I have to look at my phone because I can't remember the rest of my questions. So, classes. Basically, what are the classes like? So, for your entire time here at SCAD, unless you're an architecture or interior design major, you're going to have 2.5-hour classes. For those two majors, you're going to have 5-hour classes at some point. They're like studio classes. Your first year, you're mostly going to be in foundation courses, which include your basic English and all of that, as well as like draw and design courses. Now, going into SCAD, I was terrified of the thought of doing design and draw courses because I have zero art capabilities. My friends say differently, but they're also not like art and design majors. So for me and being here at SCAD, I just felt so out of place originally coming in, but after experiencing it for 3 quarters now, I realized that it's not as bad as you think. So if you have zero drawing or design experience, do not worry, because you're not going to need to be a pro because the professors understand that certain majors don't necessarily have that experience coming in. I am a social strategy and management major, meaning I don't need draw and design, but it is a foundation course, so I of course do need to take it, but my professors do understand that I'm not going to be the best at it. And the great part about the first quarter coming in is you don't have to worry about registering for your classes because your success advisor will take care of that for you, and they'll put you in classes based on your major. Since this location is so pretty and I have my setup all done, I think I'm going to answer question number 4 here as well. And also, I'm going to turn you guys around a little because the fashion marketing and management building is right there. So this isn't technically question number 4 on my list, but how do you get around campus and is it confusing? And one thing that I found appealing about SCAD is that it's not a typical campus and it's all spread out throughout the city of Savannah, and as you can tell, it's freaking gorgeous. Like, guys, who wouldn't want to have their campus in this beautiful historic city? So all of the SCAD buildings are spread out through the entire city. There's some down by the river, by River Street and Bay Street, and by the bridge, and then there's some up here where I am by Forsyth Park, and over here it's full of the historic trees and the Spanish moss. So it can be overwhelming when you look at the campus as a whole, but most likely you won't have to go to every single building. So like I said, everything is based around your major. You are most likely only going to have to go to about 2 or 3 buildings during your entire time. I have only been doing Zoom except for this quarter, which I started doing design classes in person, and it's not difficult to get around. I usually bike. Everything is very close in proximity. It's easy to walk, bike, which leads me into my next question. Will you need a car? I do have a car here, but unless you're planning on leaving the city and going to Whole Foods or Target, which actually SCAD has a bus that brings you there, or you can always Uber, you're not gonna need a car. Because when you're in historic Savannah, first of all, it's extremely difficult to find parking, and second of all, like I said, you can walk and bike everywhere. Okay, for the next questions, I am in Forsyth Park. I love how peaceful it is here. Hold on, let me just give you a little, ready? It's gorgeous. I can't. The Forsyth Fountain over there. Got all the historic homes over here. Guys, I can't recommend SCAD Savannah enough, honestly, but I'm gonna answer some more questions now. Okay, so the next question is, what are the dorms like? Well, I can't really answer that for you because, like I said, I've only been doing Zoom courses, and it is because SCAD decided to go online for fall and winter quarter due to the pandemic. They did start offering in-person classes a little bit during winter quarter and now spring quarter, and I'm taking an in-person class. But there was very limited spaces in the dorms, so not everyone got into it, and my roommates and I all decided that we were going to do an apartment. So my next question actually is relating to roommates, but let me just finish up with the dorms. So I personally can't tell you what the dorms are like, but I have a few friends that live in the dorms, and honestly, during the during the pandemic situation, they had the room to themselves, so they had a lot of space. Typically, if it's not during a pandemic, there is 2 bedrooms in the Hive with 2 beds. So there's 4 girls, 1 bathroom. You get 2 mini fridges and a little living room area. So honestly, you're pretty well off compared to other colleges. As far as freshman dorms go, there's the Hive and there's Turner. So the Hive I just said, Turner is not as bougie, I guess you could say, as the Hive. Turner, there are 3 girls or boys. I keep saying girls, but there's 3 girls or boys.
I wanted to phrase right here because although I did continuously repeat girls and boys, going to an art school I have learned about the discrimination of certain genders, and I want you to know that SCAD is very welcoming of any gender you identify as.
And there's one bunk bed, and then there's a single bed, and then there's also one bathroom, and the sink is out in like the living/sleeping area, so it's definitely not as private as in the Hive. But then as far as roommates go, so I said that my roommates and I decided to do an apartment, but how did I meet my roommates? So SCAD's really good at doing Facebook group chats, which that's how I met my roommate, and then my roommate introduced me to my suite mates. So if you're concerned about not finding a roommate and you're concerned about being matched randomly, then I highly suggest the group chats. If you're fine with being matched randomly, SCAD will do that for you, and I've heard that sometimes that is honestly the best way to go because you have no expectations going in and you end up being best friends with the roommates. Okay, next questions I'm just gonna answer while I walk down Jones Street, which if you know, this is kind of like the bougie street, and I love coming here and looking at all the old big historic houses that are just absolutely gorgeous. Like I love the ivy. Okay, so what is life like at SCAD? And honestly, I'm kind of like a hermit and a major introvert, so I'm not really the person to answer this question. For me, life is mostly concentrated towards schoolwork because you will have a ton of schoolwork. I will not lie about that. There will be nights where you're gonna have mental breakdowns, but it's all a part of it. And honestly, in the end, you don't really mind because you're working towards something that you're so passionate about. So what is nightlife like at SCAD? Like I said, I'm not really the one to answer this because I don't go out unless it's like to dinner with my friend Sophie or like with my roommates or something. But honestly, from what I see, there's no like huge parties because there's no Greek life or like frats or whatever here. But there are quite a few clubs. So if that's something you're concerned about or if you're of age, then there is good nightlife for the older crowd, I would say. Okay, so like I mentioned when I talked about what life is like here at SCAD, time management is going to be a huge thing because you're going to get a lot of assignments and a lot of them they're very time consuming. You're not necessarily going to get the same amount of assignments as someone who's necessarily in a school that's focused on math or science, but you're going to get design projects that are very time consuming. With that being said, you're going to have really good time management in order to complete all of your assignments on time. But it's all worth it in the end. Like, that just doesn't bother me because I know that I'm here for school. And if my social life has to take a step aside, then it just has to. And I know that a lot of you won't like hearing that. But SCAD is a very intense school because they are preparing you for the workplace and they're very passionate about having their students be successful. So they're going to give you the work. And if you are passionate about it as much as they are, then you're going to do it. SCAD is a very competitive school, meaning not necessarily in my major, but if I would have stuck with interior design, there's about 10,000 interior design students. Therefore, you need to stand out in order to be remembered. So it is a very competitive school, but with that being said, again, if you put the work in, they're gonna see it. And your professors do notice that. You might not be the best at something, but if you try your hardest, they're gonna notice. I wouldn't have wanted it any other way. I was a competitive figure skater before this, so I kind of already had the competitive drive, so I'm up for the challenge. But I'm not gonna sugarcoat it and say that SCAD's an easy school.
Okay, now we're in a more boring, but I guess classics location, and my camera is almost out of storage. So we're gonna make these last few questions quick. So as far as SAT portfolio and grades in high school, I'm gonna be dead honest with you guys. I did online school for most of my high school because of skating, and my grades were good. I was a good student, but they weren't phenomenal. Like, they didn't stand out, you know? When I applied to SCAD, I did not have a portfolio. You don't need a portfolio to apply to SCAD. You don't need a portfolio to be accepted. As far as SAT scores, I don't believe you need a very high SAT score. I think they do take your SAT scores to kind of evaluate like whether you have to do normal math or if you can do astrology and all that. Then kind of getting into once you're accepted, now you're getting ready for school. And I can do a whole nother video on that because I definitely have had a few questions that I wish I could have gotten answered. But pre-quarter assignments, do them. They're not graded, but they're important. The professors do take a look at them. What's FYE? So FYE stands for first year experience, and that is a course that you will have to take your first semester here at SCAD. And if you're not enrolled in that the first semester, I would reach out to your success advisor because you really should be. Not that it's extremely necessary. I mean, it is necessary in order to graduate. But, I mean, the things that you learn in there, you're probably already going to know all of that stuff, but some of the stuff is very useful. For example, you do learn about the study abroad programs and all that. Supplies. So you're going to get a ginormous supply list in your syllabus. Don't get them. Don't get them unless they're books and you need them for your pre-quarter assignments, then get them, or if it's any necessary supplies for that. Then yeah, you're gonna need them. But don't get the supplies until you need them for a project, because that is one way to save a ton of money. Because I wish I would have waited for some of the semesters to buy the supplies, because half of the supplies I didn't use, and art supplies aren't cheap. So I would definitely wait until it's necessary to buy them. So as far as study abroad, you will learn more about that in info sessions and FYE. Personally, I think it's an incredible experience. So if you have the opportunity to do it, do it. And I don't think there's necessarily a time frame where you need to do it like junior year, let's say. I don't think that's necessary. I think it's more just whether you get accepted or not, because obviously they have a limited amount of spots, and it's more fair to have the juniors go if they haven't gone yet, since they won't have the time to go the next year.
Okay, so another question I got actually from a fellow SCAD student. I'm gonna set y'all down. Here's my coffee cup. Was, what has the hardest part been so far? I honestly don't know. I would say I've had a pretty smooth ride so far. Obviously the classes, like sometimes I've had mental breakdowns. There's a crap ton of work, but I don't know if that would be the hardest part. I guess the hardest part would be missing my family and like, yeah, maybe missing my family. I'm very family oriented, so I guess that could be it. Also just like socialization, because I am such an introvert. I get very overwhelmed very quickly. So I don't necessarily love to socialize. And I don't mean to be like offensive or rude to anyone when I say like no to plans. It's just that I am so introverted that literally like spending 15 minutes with someone will drain me for the rest of the day. I don't know if that's anyone else's problem too. I know that there are quite social people here at SCAD, but personally, I'm just not that social. So I guess probably building a consistent social life. That would be the hardest part.
And then that's basically it. So I thought maybe it would be fun to do like a what should I pack for freshman year, or what do I need in my dorm type of video if this one does well and if y'all are interested. And then I just have a fun bonus question. I'm from New Jersey, and people up there are all hustle and bustle. So one thing I was curious about is, are Southern people actually nicer? And yes. The first week I was here, I had like literally a 30-minute conversation with my cashier at the grocery store. And today when I went to Kroger's to pick up the flowers, people just like have conversations with you. Like some guy was talking to me about my Konkin bag, and people are so nice down here. Of course there's gonna be occasional people who aren't as nice, but even the homeless people in the park are sweet. And there's this little man who plays the trumpet, I believe. I'm not sure, but he plays some sort of instrument in the park, and he's always there, and I always say hi to him, and it's just so much fun down here. So if y'all can get here, if you get accepted, I 10 out of 10 recommend SCAD Savannah or any SCAD campus. I obviously can't speak from personal experience regarding the other campuses, but this one, I wouldn't have wanted it any other way. I'm so happy I chose SCAD Savannah, and if you do end up coming here, I'm always checking my DMs, so send me a quick DM, ask me any questions. Thanks for watching this video, guys, and if you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up and click that subscribe button for more videos like this. I love you! See ya!
And it goes a little something like